My name is Witness Humphrey Lyimo, studying Masters of Arts in Sustainable Leisure Management at Vancouver Island University. I would like to start by acknowledging the unceded traditional territories and the lands of Lyimo First Nation, where we live, we learn, and grow. The research in this thesis aimed to explore the factors that facilitate the engagement of women in traditional masculine employment in tourism delivery. And it was the case study of the Northern Tourism Circuit in Tanzania. The World Bank Group in 2019 acknowledged that in Tanzania, women constitute the most of the population in the country, and therefore they can be the active part of sustainable development. However, different literature from the Global South acknowledge that men make up the majority of the formal employment, while leaving women mostly concentrated in the household spaces, and even when they are part of the formal employment, they tend to occupy lower position than their counterparts who are males in the employment. Tourism as an economic sector, it presents a potential opportunity for employing women and taking them out of poverty. However, that can be possible if only gendered barriers to meaningful employment will be lifted. It has been noted to be a highly gendered industry, and it has the subject has been explored more in the global north compared to the global south. However, different tourism literature acknowledge the fact that there has been changes in narratives about women occupation in the traditional masculine employment, and therefore there is a significant increase in women who are working in managerial as well as the leading position in tourism. I welcome you to see the video which show part of women experiences in traditional masculine employment in tourism in Tanzania.
But if you want to see one of those, you need an experienced guide. These are usually men, but not here.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Kazadi. I'm taking you out for game drive. Hopefully we see some lions, but this is nature. Anything can happen.
Kazawadi was inspired to pursue a career in tourism by watching her uncle, who was a tour guide himself.
This is a job which is dominated by male and not for female. You need to be strong to do this kind of job. So you're judging me because seems not to be strong. I said no, I'm stronger than I will think, and I will make it. We say it is a harem.
Oh, a harem.
A group of female with dominant male, we call it harem.
This is a job that requires Kazawadi to know a lot about wildlife and how to get out of sticky situations.
I love what I'm doing. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I love being surrounded by wildlife, living peaceful life, and learning new things every day, meeting different people all over the world, which makes me change every day.
Thank you very much. And after seeing that part of women experiences in tourism delivery in Tanzania, I would like to shift into theoretical and practical rationale for this study. So conducting this study in Tanzania is especially important because as part of the Global South, it has been reported that women experience a lot of challenges and barriers compared to their counterpart in the Western. But also it has been acknowledged that women in this part of the world have to overcome poverty in different domains, include in their income, asset, time, as well as power. It is also noted that in this part of the world, patriarchy domains is more painted black and white in the society, and therefore women's rights are put into high jeopardy. Very few studies have been done in Tanzania, and majority of those studies have been focusing on the deficit approaches, which deliver the barriers as well as the challenges which are faced by these women in achieving traditionally masculine employment. However, this study aims to bridge that gap by informing different facilitators and the motivation around for women in joining these careers. The Northern Tourism Circuit was chosen as the study area in this research. Among the rationale for selecting this study area was from the fact that there is the presence of most iconic tourist attraction in the country, and therefore that guarantees the presence of majority of tour operators as well as women-owned and operated tourism businesses. Also, there is a presence of many organizations which are likely to employ women into this position. That link into my positionality to this study area. I am a Chaga woman from Tanzania, and Chaga tribe is principally located in the Northern Tourism Circuit at the foothill of Mount Kilimanjaro. The cultural diversity is defined based on tribes, and patrilineal society are prevalent, which actually perpetuate patriarchal domains throughout the society. In Tanzania, the gender roles are evident in all domains of life, ranging from the family level into the formal institutions such as schools and workplaces. Well, women are clearly painted as the most responsible people in the household, while men are considered for formal careers. I believe what other researchers have mentioned concerning the division of roles based on gender, as that has been accelerating and widening the gender gaps, include in domains like education, employment, as well as in decision making. My familiarity to this context comes from the fact that I was born and raised in this region. And apart from that factors, it also comes from my experience as a student, but also in my career from the College of African Wildlife Management, Mweka in Tanzania. During my experiences at Mweka, I had an opportunity to do several field visits, which exposed me into the Northern Tourism Circuit, as well as its stakeholders. Therefore, as a woman, I was exposed into these imbalances of males and female within the tourism industry, but also showcasing that majority of the time, people who were interacting with in the leading position were likely to be men. The purpose of this research was to explore the factors that facilitate Tanzanian women employment in traditionally masculine position in tourism delivery within the Northern Tourism Circuit in Tanzania. Therefore, this study aimed to explore how does the social context influence women in traditionally masculine position, but also how does the lived experience of women aid in their resistance to gender norms? And third, how does the lived experience of women impacted their resilience in employment? A socio-ecological model by McCleary, 1988, was used as a research framework of this study. This model links an individual with their social context, and it argues that within the social context, a behavior or an action is influenced by multiple factors within the social context. The factors are categorized into different levels, ranging from intrapersonal level, interpersonal level, institutional factors, community factors, and public policy. It is the model which has been utilized in a variety of fields, ranging from public health, conservation, natural sciences, gender, as well as leisure and tourism. Apart from being a Western-oriented model, it has also been used in the developing countries, such as Tanzania itself. Apart from the holistic approach of the model, it has been argued that sometimes it fails in focusing on the specifics, and therefore it can inform both the constraint and facilitators. Different authors like Flory and Lee in 2006 have argued that addition of the more theoretical knowledge into the model can improve its specificity. And therefore, in this study, a strength-based approach was incorporated in the model so as to improve its focus on facilitating factors. A qualitative description methodology was used as a study design, but also the use of strength-based approach in the design approach. Both purposeful and snowball sampling was employed as the sampling procedures, and a total of 17 women who met the criteria for this study were selected and interviewed. Data collection was done from October 20th to December 22nd, and semi-structured interviews were used as the tool for collection of data. The in vivo software 12 was used to manage the data, and multi-stage thematic coding was done with the integration of abductive reasoning, which employs the theoretical preposition as well as the empirical observation within the data in order to inform the different thematic areas. The major findings in this study informed three major thematic areas. The first one was the gendered nature of the Tanzanian society, but also the second was the gendered perception of tourism, and the third one was women employment in traditionally masculine roles in tourism, which actually informed two major patterns, which were getting the job and keeping the job. Therefore, before speaking into the factors that facilitate women in employment in traditional masculine employment, it is potential to learn the context and the gendered nature of the Tanzanian society, but also how tourism is being positioned within the Tanzanian community. Therefore, women in this study in this section inform the perspective of women over the social norms, and the result in this study informed that gender roles are still prevalent in the society, and there is a high expectation on women, where in majority of people in the society are painting women as people who should be the principal caregivers and household caretakers. Apart from that, these women noted that the gender roles are being reinforced in different levels in the society. Apart from the household and the family level itself, women noted that other parts of the society, like the formal institution, contribute into the reinforcement of these gender roles. These women noted the acceptation of gender roles in the community has been causing great impact in women's experiences. For example, this has initiated the likelihood of limitation of women in terms of their career choices. The gendered perception of tourism informed that due to the stereotyping that has been going on within the Tanzanian society, many of these tourism careers are considered for men and not for women. For example, one participant noted that many people expect a girl or a woman to do a job that at the end of the day, they will return back home. So because of the time that we spent in the field, so many people believe that tourism field jobs are for men and not for women. However, this research revealed that there is a significant progress in terms of how both the community and women are perceiving this traditional masculine employment in tourism, and which actually is pointing and echoes women's resistance to social norms within the society. For example, Mishi noted that if you give a woman a house, she will make it a home. So imagine what we can do in this male-dominated position. So this shows that there is an act of resistance towards the traditional gender norms in the society. Moving to the third thematic area, it informed that women employment in traditionally masculine roles in tourism delivery is influenced by different factors. And there was an observed pattern within the data, which signifies that getting fully engaged within the tourism career necessitates attaining the job, but also being able to maintain those jobs. In this study, these factors were all organized based on the McCleary's model 1988. However, there was an addition of an extra level which was not present in the original model. Moving to the individual factors, women noted several factors which helped them in both getting the job and keeping the job. For example, within the Tanzanian context, women noted that the factors like post-secondary education background is very important for someone to achieve a certain employment position. This was given a tremendous credit based on the fact that within the tourism context, both it is wildlife and nature-based tourism, and therefore the institution which providing knowledge about wildlife offer the situated knowledge which has combination of both hard and soft skills, which are necessary to make a good candidate, while at the same time, skill sets were noted to be very important in both getting the job and keeping the job. These were observed as the abilities and skills, which were gained both in formal ways and informal ways, learning, and therefore they were potential in getting into the job, but also they could draw back at the cost of their employment in order to keep up with the demands of the changes within the tourism industry. Other factors which were noted at the individual level include certification and work ethics of women, which make them to be trustworthy. And the resilience of these women include the fact they were able to overcome different challenges as well as prevailing in the masculinized workforce in tourism, but also financial independence and interest in tourism careers. Interpersonal level also informed different factors which were potential for these women in getting the job and keeping the job. Supportive people were categorized into two groups, where there was a group which contained the immediate family members and those people who were not part of their families. These people are noted to be very important in helping them both in getting the job and in keeping the job. It is into the extent that these people, for example, parents help their children in finding special training in order to be able to join the tourism careers, but also supporting their choices as women in the society. At the cause of keeping their job, the influence of people like the significant others in the family were noted to be very important, as they helped these women in lifting the household burden and tasks, and therefore they could concentrate in their careers. Organizational level also informed different factors, include tourism operators and businesses in the role of schools and post-secondary institutions. For example, presence of operators as well as businesses, presence of tourism operators and businesses which were supporting women endeavors and their employment in tourism was very potential in helping them to get employed in tourism. But also at the case in keeping their jobs, it was very important for those companies which offer training to their employees, but also offering support for extra knowledge in order to make them adapt into the tourism careers. At community level, the influence of geographical factor was noted, where women were noticing the fact that they grew up in the region where there was highly operation of tourism, which ended up in inspiring them, but also the role of non-related and tourism association, which helped them in getting the job and keeping their jobs. The policy factor were noted also to be very important, reflecting on the supportive institutional policies, which were very important in helping women prevailing in this masculinized workforce. The structural factor were noted as the broader factors within the social context, which sometimes were out of control of individuals, and therefore they were influenced the whole community context in their behavior, but at the same time, they could be influenced by various levels within the social context. Factors like changing social norms, which was linked with the access to internet as well as social media were noted to be very important in helping these women in both acknowledging different perspectives around the world, but also in exposing the greater community in understanding that there are different roles which can actually be occupied by these women. That led into our discussion on factors that led to women resilience. So resilience was viewed as the ability to overcome different challenges. And it was a dynamic process which was clearly demonstrated in both phases of women employment. Women overcome different barriers, and this study revealed that women showcase a high act of sense of positive attitude, problem-solving skills, as well as sense of optimism. Likewise, in keeping their jobs, it was also noted that these women are inherently resilient. This study prescribed that the inherent nature of women might be attributed by the fact that they have grew up in challenging systemic barriers and male domination within the society. Leading to the resistance of women to gender norms, it was noted in this study that women perspective, attitudes, and behavior reflect women resistance to traditional social norms. And therefore, this resistance was not only expressed at the individual level, but also at the institutional level. However, as it has been noted and addressed in other research, the resistance of these women did not imply that they were challenging the fact that they are women and mothers in the society, but they were challenging the fact of being limited into those roles. The discussion on socio-ecological model and facilitating factors implies that this implies that the traditional masculine employment involved two main phases, which were getting the job and keeping the job. It should be noted that the previous studies which have assessed women employment in tourism did not note this distinction of the phases. This study drew back on the McLeroy's model in 1988, which focused on the fact that an individual as well as the social context are interdependent systems, and therefore the change in one level can cause a significant change in the other. Unlike the McLeroy's model, which was presented in 1988, this model presents 6 layers, where in the outermost layer, there is structural factors which are likely to influence other factors within the social context as well as being influenced by them. The structural factors were informed by the data, the experience of the researcher, as well as the literature that were reviewed in this study. Mostly, the spiral depiction of the model was inspired by O'Connor's model, which was presented in 2012. And therefore, the model depicts that the individual sits at the middle while followed by the rest of the levels within the social context. The spiral model also implies that in different contexts, there is also the temporal scales, which are likely to change over time. Therefore, the same factors which are influencing the same individual in facilitating a certain action are likely to change over time. It is with the same fact that in this research, it was acknowledged that there are factors which help a woman to keep a job as well as getting into the job. This shows the interaction among these factors and the interlinkage, and therefore, over time, they are likely to draw back into the factors which once facilitate them in getting the job, but also they are likely to adapt into this new environment and evolve the new factors which help them to adapt into those environments. However, the concept of the pattern which was observed in this study, which was getting the job and keeping the job, has been supported by the proximal and digital influences which have been noted within the social context. This study recommends that the policy which emphasize on education for women in the Tanzanian society should be maintained, but also there should be implementation of the gender equality policies. There are several limitations which were noted in this study, include it might not be applicable in other tourism circuits. And that is due to the fact that there is different level of development among the circuit, but also different tribal culture. This insinuates that due to these differences, the perspective of women regarding different contexts might also differ. Likely, the observed pattern in this study was not something which I expected to find. And therefore, there might be other factors which were not presented in this study, but they still facilitate women in keeping their jobs in tourism delivery. Future research. So this study proposes that in future, there should be other studies which focus on other tourism circuits in order to have a comparison on the perspective of women in these different geographical locations. But also, due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, there has to be different studies which should explore strategies for women to overcome different impacts which were caused by COVID-19, because it has been reported that women have suffered more compared to their male colleagues in both employment and within the household. The use of the strength-based approach should be employed within the Tanzanian context, because right now there is a prevalence focus within the deficit approaches. But also the revised socio-ecological model which was proposed in this study should be verified in other social contexts in Tanzania in order to verify the use. The following are my references to the sources as well as to the media used in this presentation. And thank you very much, Asante Sana, for attending, both my Canadian friends and my Tanzanian colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Whitty. I'm going to encourage you all to unmute, and then we can actually hear one another clapping, and a shout out for Whitty.
Yay! Well done. That was great.
Thank you.
On behalf of the World Leisure Center of Excellence, we'd like to thank the supervisory team for the mentorship that they provided Witness during her thesis journey. And we would like to thank the Queen Elizabeth Scholars Program for the funding that it provided for Witness to come to Canada and study within the World Leisure Center of Excellence at Vancouver Island University.